Hey, good morning, everyone. This is the next video just talking about some different things that I've been struggling with. This one in particular is getting divorced, and just how painful that can be, how difficult that can be, how hard that can be, and just kind of the struggles of every day going through a divorce. So I want to kind of back up and maybe just tell you a little bit about how I met my ex-husband and kind of what transpired. So we met in August of 2018, and by September 2018 he proposed marriage and we were engaged, and then in November 26th of 2018 we were married. So, and I had just met him in August. So August to November was the amount of time that I had to spend time with him, get to know him, and then get married. Now, what I was learning about him through the process, he was kind of, checking all the boxes. Down my list, someone who loved Jesus, someone who has a good work ethic, works hard, someone who is kind and generous and loving and compassionate, affectionate, smart, intelligent, good sense of humor, just stuff like that. And he was checking all those boxes, all of those things. And so I was definitely very interested in him. I did develop love for him. I loved him. And he is from, I'm not going to say which country, but he's from Africa, and he was here on his own terms on a visa. Like, I didn't bring him over here or anything like that. He was here on his own terms on a visa, and so yeah, we just, he had just recently got divorced, and had 3 kids living back in Africa, and so we just were getting to know each other, and we both liked what we were learning about each other. He liked the fact that I'm a very kind person, I'm an honest person, I'm smart and I work hard, I'm educated. Like he was in, at least at the beginning, these things were things that intrigued him and that he liked. So we got married on November 26th of 2018. And some things happened on our actual wedding day. Like, we did a courthouse wedding. We didn't pay for like this big foo-foo, wedding. Neither of us had that kind of money, so we just did a courthouse wedding. But we still invited, like, all our family was there. We had at least like 17 or 18 of us crammed in that little courthouse. So, and I was wearing a beautiful white dress and all that stuff. So, it had the makings of what would have been a normal wedding. It's just we were in a courthouse, basically, is the only difference. And just some things started happening even that day that kind of like felt like it was coming out of nowhere. Like, what is going on? So his elder sister was there with her husband at the time, and my sister was there, and so I came there dressed in like what I was going to wear after the wedding. I didn't come there dressed in the wedding dress. So I said I brought it with me, and I changed while I was there. And so I wanted to kind of do like a special bonding between me and my sister and my new sister-in-law. So I asked my sister, I was like, hey, can you please come with me to the bathroom? I'm going to change into my dress. And then I mentioned to his sister, my new sister-in-law, said her name, can you please come with me to the bathroom? Come with me, please. And I guess my ex-husband now, but at the time, my husband, saw that, and I don't know what it was about that kind of rubbed him the wrong way. I'm not sure. So we went to the restroom, I changed into the white dress, we all had like a moment, oh, you look so beautiful, blah, 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 just a bonding moment, which is what I was hoping that it was going to be. So we go back to the the courtroom where we're going to do the ceremony. And he's standing outside for me, and I thought, oh, he's going to see my beautiful white dress. He's going to think I look so beautiful, you know. He's going to have that big, goofy grin on his face and be so happy, you know. And he just looked like just anger and almost like a, I don't know, maybe hatred is too strong a word, but just like that he just almost like just did not like me at that moment. And here I am expecting him to be like, wow, you're beautiful. And as I walked up, he was like, what are you doing with my sister? I was like, oh, I just asked her if she could come with me and my sister while I changed into my dress so we can all kind of have like a girls, sisters, you know, bonding moment together before the wedding. And he just still had this mean, and I was smiling like, because I was happy about it. And he had this mean look on his face, and he's like, you don't talk to my sister like that. I'm like what? I don't understand. What did I do? And he's like, oh, you don't tell, you know, in my culture, you don't tell an elder what to do, and she's your elder. I was like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't tell her what to do. I asked her politely if she would please come with me. I didn't tell her, like, you get up right now and go to the bathroom with me. Like, no, I was very respectful and cordial, and I asked her nicely. And he's like, oh, just forget it. And that was like, and this was literally right before we were getting ready to be married and take our vows, you know, and exchange our vows and everything. And I was like, I almost had a thought of, I need to run. Because the look on his face, it reminded me of some things that I had experienced as a kid, you know, kind of growing up in a household where there was a lot of fighting and stuff like that. And that look on his face, it scared me. And I almost wanted to run, but I said, you know what? I do love him. I committed to this. Our families are here. I'm not going to run. Let's do this. You know, maybe he's just kind of having an off day or something. So we get married. Everything is good. You know, we go to the next place where we have like our little reception. We went to like a buffet, like a Chinese food buffet, and we all just sat down and ate our food and just, you know, prayed over our food, prayed for each other, you know, had a nice time talking. Just, you know, the normal stuff that you do, you know, after a wedding, and you go to a wedding reception. And then it was time for all of us to go, so we parted ways, and I said goodbye to everyone, you know, thank you so much, thank you for being a part of this with us, and we love you. And so I'm thinking, because look, I mean, disclaimer, I'm going to be honest, I got married at 36 years old. And when I got married, I was still a virgin. I'm a follower of Christ. I kept myself pure until my wedding. And so I'm thinking, okay, this is 36 years of not doing this, so can we go home? You know, like I want to get this started. And he's like, no, drive here. Because at that point, like, you know, he was here on a visa. He didn't have his own vehicle. And so we were using my car, and I was driving, and he's like, go this way. And he didn't even tell me where we were going. I thought, oh, maybe he's, you know, maybe he bought us a nice hotel or something to stay at, or, you know, so I'm kind of excited. I'm like, ooh, okay, you know. So he wouldn't tell me where he was going, but I was just following his instruction, turn here, turn here. So then we pulled up to like this, it was like a row of like office buildings. And he had me park in the parking lot, and he's like, okay, I'll be right back. And I'm like, well, what's going on? Like, why are we here? And he's like, you don't need to know that. Slammed the door. And I sat there by myself in a parking lot of a place I'd never been to. I had no idea what he was doing. And I'm just sitting there. On my wedding day, sitting by myself. I was there for at least an hour. And I have no idea what's happening. And then after that hour, here he comes. He gets back in the car. All right, let's go. Let's go home. And so I asked again, I'm like, why were we here? I don't understand. And he's like, I don't have to tell you that. I'm like, well, you made me drive here, and I'm sitting here on my wedding day by myself for an hour. You think maybe you could at least please explain to me what's going on? I still to this day, okay, and we're talking, November will be 7 years later, I still don't know what we were doing there, what he was doing. I still have no idea. And so this was all just kind of strange, like his behavior before the wedding with the thing with his sister, and then this issue, like we just got married, I'm wanting to go home and get, you understand, do adult things, you know what I'm saying, do what married people do, and I'm sitting here by myself for an hour, I have no idea what's happening. He could have at least said, oh, I forgot, I gotta do this errand, it's due right now, I gotta get it taken care of, and this is what it is. Like, nothing. So those were kind of red flags for me at the beginning, but I was like, well, we're from two different places, it's a different culture, on top of that, he's a man, I'm a woman, we already have those types of differences that just are naturally there, the differences between a man and a woman. And then the cultural differences on top of that. So I'm like, well, maybe I just need to try, just let it go, just not talk about it no more, and just kind of see what happens. Maybe one day he'll explain it. No. So then we get home, and I'm thinking, okay, yes, let's go. And he's like, okay, well, let's sit here. I'm like, sit here? So we sat in the living room, doing nothing, not doing what married people do for like another 2 hours. And then he's like, okay, you ready? You ready to go to the bedroom? I'm like, yeah, I've been ready. Like, why did you make me sit here? Why didn't we go straight there? Like, I don't understand. So then we had our time together. It was all right. I figured, hey, this is my first time, so it's not going to be that great. It's not going to be that enjoyable because, I'm a virgin and it's my first time, so I kind of understood that. But then even the subsequent times, it was painful. Not because he was, I won't go there, but it was painful. He didn't really, at least it came across, because obviously I don't know fully what was in his mind and in his heart, but how he was treating me, it came across that he didn't really care what I needed or what I wanted or what was helpful to me, to be ready for him. And again, that could be a cultural thing. And I get that, but like when your wife is telling you, hey, you're hurting me, can we back up here for a second and just kind of maybe do a little more foreplay, and then I should be ready, and then it won't hurt. But it didn't matter to him. So pretty much for the whole of our marriage, every time we came together in that way, it was painful, and I would cry. I would just cry. Like I to this day, I have not had a good experience with, intimacy. It was all pretty bad. And I never understood it. Like, I got it. Like, okay, culturally, if that's how men in the country that he's from in Africa are, that they just, they're not big into foreplay, they just want to, go right in. I get it. But when you love someone and you're married to someone and they're telling you, this is painful for me, can we try something different? Or can we just slow down just a little bit for a couple minutes? And you're met with like, oh, forget it. Like, you're not worth it. You're not worth the time. You're not worth the effort. And I don't care how you feel. Like, that's how I came across. So there was those issues. And then there was verbal abuse like nonstop, almost every day. Anything that I did, I could have been just like, hey, how's it going? How was your day? And just like met with this like evil look on his face. Like, what did I do to you? I'm just saying hello. And I learned how to cook a cuisine of a style of food, African style of food that I completely new and brand new to me. I did the best that I could. His sister taught me how to make a couple of the staple like soups that they eat from that area, and so I followed her instructions to a T. I had my legal pad. I was taking notes when she came over to teach me. I made step-by-step instructions for myself. I followed them every time, exactly as she showed me, and he would always say that it didn't taste good. It didn't taste like what he was used to. I'm like, well, I'm trying. I'm sorry I've never made this. This is not my normal, style of cooking, but I'm doing my best, And so he would, say mean things to me about that. He called me names. He called me stupid. He called me crazy. He always was calling me a control freak just because I would ask him, hey, how's it going? What you working on? I would see him come in the house and not really say anything to me and just go straight to our office. And so after, I'd leave him there for a while. And then I would come in and just say, hey, how was your day? What's going on? What you working on? Like, I didn't come in there like, oh, I'm with a light in his face, like interrogating him. I came in there with love and with care, like you matter to me. I just want to know how you're doing. And I would just be yelled at, or he would just give me the silent treatment. And I never knew what I did. Like, I didn't understand. He would always just say that I was a control freak and that I didn't listen to him. But I listened to him all the time. I submitted to everything. Any major decision in the family. Anything that he wanted to do or wanted us to do as a family. Even if I didn't agree with it, I would submit to him and I would do it. And so for him to say that I wasn't submitting, that I wasn't listening, I just didn't understand what he was talking about. And I asked him for examples. I was like, can you please give me an example of what you're talking about so I can try to, think about it and pray about it and make sure that I work on that. And he would just tell me stuff that was like not even true. I'm like, when did that happen? Like, what are you talking about? It never made any sense to me. So it got worse. I actually got pregnant during our first week of marriage, and then I miscarried the baby. I think it was the last day of January. So I got pregnant somewhere toward the end of November. And so I was about maybe 14 weeks along. Like, I had just come through my first trimester, and I lost the baby. And that was a really hard time. And he was not very nice to me through that. He wouldn't comfort me. He told me I need to get over myself. I needed to get over it because there's children that are starving in the world. And I was sad, like, that's why I had my tissues. I was sad because you don't understand when you have a life growing inside of you and you get excited. And the baby died, and the baby has to come out, so I had almost like contractions. You almost have like labor pains. And I passed our baby in the toilet. It was so traumatic, and it was the worst feeling in the world. And here, just a day or two after, he's telling me I need to stop being sad. Showing me videos of children that are starving, and I'm like, well, I'm sad that they're starving. I wish there was something I could do, but my baby died. And then, so that was at the end of January, and then in April we got pregnant with our daughter. And I was so scared that I was going to lose her because he was so mean. He was always yelling at me and yelling at me. And I remember when I felt weird, when I felt like something wasn't right with the first pregnancy, he had been yelling at me. And something happened. And I knew at that moment that something was wrong with the baby. He was so stressing me out. So when I got pregnant with my daughter Abigail, I had to literally teach myself how to block him out. He would just be yelling and jumping up and down and throwing things at me and cussing me out and calling me all kinds of names. This was when I was pregnant with her. And I would have to literally just put myself somewhere else. I'd have to go somewhere else in my mind. Just go somewhere peaceful, you know, like I'm sitting in front of a lake, or I'm sitting at the beach and I'm just relaxing and the sun is warm and there's a nice breeze. I would just have to go somewhere in my mind, because I thought if I sit here and listen to him, I'm gonna lose this baby too. I'm so sorry, I didn't plan to cry, but this is the struggle when you've been in an abusive marriage. And I'm not perfect. I didn't do everything right. I wasn't the perfect wife, but I was a good wife. I was a good wife. And I did the things he asked me to do. I did everything that I could. He was so mean. He also physically abused me. A handful of times, but one time is too much. Let's see. He had pushed me. My ex-husband is a third-degree black belt in karate. He karate chopped my hand one time, and it got bruised on the inside. And, my hand hurt for almost 3 weeks. And of course, he was always throwing things at me. One time, he threw something at me when I was holding our daughter, and she was only 6 months old. Even with all of this, I was trying to hold our marriage together. Even with all this, I tried. I begged him, please. I begged him to go to counseling. That didn't work. We did. He finally agreed, because for a long time he wouldn't go. And finally he agreed because it was with our church and it was a Christian counselor. And so he agreed to that. That didn't work. All he did was lie about me the entire time, and even the counselor pointed that out. He's like, just in the short time that I've known both of you and I've gotten to know you and your wife a little bit, the things that you're saying about your wife don't seem to match up at all with what I see from her. I see she's a very honest and caring and kind person, and you're saying that she hates your children that live back in Africa and she wants them to die? These are things he said to me. He told me that I hated his children and that I wanted them to die. Anybody who's known me for 30 seconds would know that how much I love children and how that's not true. They said so many things like that that hurt me so badly. I'm like, why are you saying that? And I paid for everything, even after he was working. When he He got his green card and he got his work permit. I still paid for everything. And when it got to the place where the rent was too much and I needed his help, then I asked him, I said, please, can we at least, I'll still pay all of the utilities, I'll pay all the water and electric, I'll pay all the other food and everything bills. If you could please just give me half the rent. And he yelled at me, and it made me feel so bad. Just because I needed help. I wasn't trying to make his kids suffer. I needed help. I couldn't do it by myself anymore. And that's when everything got even worse after that. And I asked him, because he would go out and work, and I never saw much of the fruits of those labors, working like that. And he'd be gone for like 3 days at a time. He wouldn't even come home. And I asked him, I said, look, I want to save our marriage. I want this marriage to work. Please. And I begged him. I said, I know you're busy. I know you're working hard. And that you're going days at a time. I said, I know you can't be home every day. But even if you could just give me, I just begged him. I said, please, can you just give me 1 hour? That's all I asked for, just 1 hour a week. Not per day. 1 hour in 7 days just to sit down with me and just to have a friendly conversation or watch a TV show or read the Bible together or pray. Anything. Just 1 hour a week. And here I was still doing everything for him, still paying for everything, still cooking all his food, paying for all those expensive African ingredients that I didn't have the money for. I figured out a way to pay for it. He never helped. And after all that, and he's abusive to me, he's yelling at me, he's calling me names, he's throwing things. And even after all that, I said, please, just 1 hour. I just want us to spend time together. Maybe we could try to reconnect, and start to rebuild that foundation that we once had back when we were dating, when we enjoyed each other's company. Maybe we could try that again. And I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, I don't want to be around you for even an hour. My own husband didn't even want to spend any time with me. That broke my heart. Made me so sad. And even after that, I kept trying. I tried so hard. And then one day, it was the final thing for me. So again, he was still being abusive. He was still being mean. He was still being nasty. But I was still there. I was trying. For my daughter's sake, I was trying. One day he just told me, I'm not giving you half the rent this month. I'm like, well, how are we going to pay it? What am I going to do? Now, thankfully, that was a month where I had 3 paychecks from my job, and I also got a bonus check from my job. So because of that, I was able to do the rent by myself. But I was thinking, okay, he'll definitely have it for me the next month, because I don't have any extra stuff this next month, so he's got to come with his half. Well, he never did. And when I said, please, we need help. I can't pay this by myself. If we don't pay, where are we going to go? I said, Abigail, I will have nowhere to go. You know what he said? He said, well, now you know how my children in Africa feel. I said, what? I said, they live on the street? They're sleeping in a car? I said, they may not have the fanciest house, but they have a roof over their head. We're about to not have a roof over our head. Your wife and your daughter are about to not have a roof over their head. And your children have a roof over their heads. So what's the comparison? I was so mad. And he did nothing. He did nothing to try to help me. And that was the final straw for me. And that's when I separated from him. That was on August 1st of last year, 2024. I found something in a different area that I could afford by myself for my daughter and I. And I said, you may not live with us. I can't take it anymore. And so we're still here. I'm still in the place that I found. And then I started divorce proceedings shortly after that. I think in September of last year is when I started it. And went through a paralegal team, and everything was finalized by the court, by a judge, on December 2nd, 2024. And even though I felt relieved because I didn't feel scared anymore, I wasn't getting hurt anymore physically or emotionally, so I felt relieved, but I also felt like a failure because my marriage did fail. Everyone tells me, oh, it wasn't your fault, but, you know, maybe some parts of it were. Maybe some parts of it were my fault, I don't know. I just know that I tried so hard. I did everything I could think to do. You know, that Fireproof Love Dare challenge, the 90-day thing, I did that on him like 5 times in a row. And he never noticed anything, he never said anything. I tried, I did the counseling, I did the Love Dare thing, I prayed, oh my Lord, I prayed so hard every single day, but when you're with somebody who just despises you, hates you, has no love for you, what are you supposed to do when you're trying to dance the dance of marriage and they won't even stand up and join you and just abandon you? He did, he abandoned me. And he always tried to, you know, in front of my family, in front of his family and his friends, he always tried to make it look like, you know, that he's such this awesome, great husband. He was awful. Awful. Just mean and abusive. So when I went to court that day, was December 2nd, 2024, when the judge granted the divorce, and I was relieved, but when I got back to my car, and I sat down and I closed the door and I turned the car on, I just wept. And I cried and I told God I was so sorry. I said, God, I'm sorry. I said, I tried. Because I believe in marriage. Marriage is a big deal. I took it very seriously. I took my commitment very seriously. And some part of me felt like I failed, you know? So I just had to tell the Lord, I'm so sorry. I said, God, I wanted it to work. I didn't want my husband to keep treating me that way. I wanted to try to find our way back to that love we had at the beginning. I tried so hard. But when someone doesn't even want to look at you, doesn't even want to see you, how are you supposed to try? So even then, I just wept. And then I had to go, you know. be home for my daughter. And it's not been easy. Since then, or before then, since separating in August of 2024, then divorcing in December, it has not been easy. Not one step of it. There are many times I sit here and I'm lonely. But then I remind myself I was lonely my whole marriage. Because he was never there. I feel lonely, and I'm sad for my daughter. That was the main reason that for over 6 years, I stayed married. If it had been just me, if we didn't have her, oh, I'd have left him. Probably after just a couple of years, but I wanted her. I wanted her to have her mom and her dad in the home, just like I did. So I feel like I failed her. But she knew, because a lot of this stuff my ex-husband did in front of her. A lot of the ways that he abused me and mistreated me was in front of her. And she would always say to me, "Mommy, why is Daddy so mean to you?" Just, oh, it's okay, and I would just talk about something else, because I did my best for her to not have any type of negative feelings toward her daddy, but he did it to himself. He treated me so horribly right in front of her, and I would say, I would try to diffuse the situation and say, "Hey, can we please talk about this later? We can wait until Abigail goes for her nap, or maybe when she goes to bed tonight, then you and I can have a discussion later so she doesn't have to see this or hear this." But he didn't care. He didn't care at all. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that I've been crying this whole thing, but this is really fresh for me because I just divorced in December. It's only April now. I've only been divorced for 4 months, and this was over 6 years of hell on earth. As I literally feel like I went through hell, and I'm finally starting to feel more like myself. I'm finally starting to come through it on the other side, but it has been a drastically deep, dark pit that I've been in. And nobody really knows how that feels unless you've gone through it yourself and you know what I'm talking about. And look, sometimes it's the wives who abuse their husbands, so this isn't just a woman thing. There are men out there that are being abused in different types of ways in their relationships and marriages as well, and it's equally as wrong. It's never okay. It's never okay to put your hands on somebody. It's never okay to call the person that you're supposed to love with all your heart, to call them wicked and ugly and vile names, and to say horrible lies about them to people, to try to make people think that they're this awful, wicked person when you're not. It's never okay. And I had to learn that, And maybe we just got married too fast, and I didn't know really truly who he was. Because let me tell you something, how he portrays himself to his family and his friends is one way. He comes across very cordial and nice and compassionate and loving and all these wonderful things, right? But who he was in his home when nobody else was there, when it was just his wife, he's like the devil. I'm not saying he is the devil, but he was like a devilish person. I would see him be this wonderful person to everybody else, and then when we would come home and it was just the two of us, it was like a completely different person. And so, and he's still got friends. He's got friends that know that we've divorced. And some of them are still team him. I'm not going to say his name. But some of them are still perfectly fine with him, talking to him, having a friendship, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, if you only knew. If you only knew. And maybe if those friends had any care or concern for me, they probably wouldn't talk to him anymore. But I don't have any control over that. People are going to do what they want to do. You know, they've had a relationship, a friendship with him for all those years. So be it. You know, I don't hold any grudges against anyone. I just wonder how they can continue to be his friend knowing what he did to me. But at the end of the day, like I said, I have no control over that. It is what it is. But divorce is hard. It is hard in every single way, shape, and form. Like, it is... It's a daily thing. It's a daily struggle. There are some days I'm like, doing fine, doing great. And then there's other days where I don't want to get out of bed. Those days are getting less and less and less. Like I said, coming out on the other side, I'm doing better. I'm feeling better. A lot of things are getting better for me. So I'm thankful for that, and that's what is telling me that I did the right thing. But I fought hard. I did every single thing I could think of for years. I tried so hard. But when you're with somebody who doesn't love you, what can you do? You know? You can't force that person to love you. So, and to be kind to you and to respect you, you can't force that. So yeah, it's been a struggle. So if any of you out there are considering divorce, you know, first of all, think about what are your reasons. Like, if it's that, his personality kind of rubs me wrong. Work it out. Like that's no big deal. You can work through that. But if they're cheating on you, if they're putting their hands on you, abusing you, and just mistreating you, and they're not putting in any effort at all to make the marriage work, well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You have to make your decision, but I know for me, it just was going on for too long, and I just couldn't take it anymore. Like, I wanted to die. I was suicidal. And I know my daughter needs me. She wouldn't have had anybody if I wasn't here. So I fought for her, and now I'm fighting for the both of us. So anyway, sorry for the blubbering and the crying. My apologies, and sorry for this being a long video. I was trying to keep it short, but I had to tell the backstory. I had to explain, especially for you Bible scholars out there. Basically, he did what the Old Testament talks about, where he just set me aside. He abandoned me, basically. And that's why I feel like I had biblical grounds to divorce him without it being considered a sin on my part. So anyway, that's what happened. But yeah, it's hard. But those of you that know how I feel, women, men, coming out of abusive marriages and relationships, you know how hard it is. We just gotta keep trying. Gotta keep moving forward, especially for our children. We can't give up. We have to keep going for them, because they deserve the best of us. And so that's what I'm trying to do right now. So anyway, please like, comment, subscribe, share, and until next time, hopefully I'll have another video tomorrow. Take care of yourself, take care of each other. God bless. Talk to you soon.